Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to discuss Arrhenius acid-base concept. This concept is very essential. It develops understanding about acidic and basic drugs. We use acid and base as a drug in pharmacy, and also we have certain acids in our body which is responsible for digestion, like hydrochloric acid. It is secreted by the inner lining of stomach, and there is a one more strong acid present in our body, heparin, which act as a anticoagulant. So this lecture will develop a basic understanding about acid-base theory. Arrhenius' theory of acid and base was originally proposed by the Swedish chemist Arrhenius in 1884. He classified certain compounds as acids and bases based on what kind of ions formed when the compound was added to the water. In daily life routine, at home, we see various examples of acid and base. Few examples are lemon and soap. Lemon is acidic. It contains vitamin C, ascorbic acid. It is sure in test. It turns It turns the blue litmus paper into red. It reacts with some metals to produce hydrogen gas and dissolve carbonate salts, releasing carbon dioxide. Bases are bitter in taste. Bases turns the red litmus to blue, and it is slippery to the touch. Now the definition according to Arrhenius: acids gives H plus ion and base gives OH ion in aqueous solution. Acid is a substance that releases H plus ion in aqueous solution. Aqueous means water. For example, when hydrochloric acid is dissolved in water, the compound separates into chlorine ion and hydrogen ion. Chlorine contains minus charge and hydrogen contains H plus charge. A strong acid. A strong acid breaks down completely in water and it gives off many hydrogen ion. Strong acids are assumed to dissociate completely when in aqueous solution. Weak base. A weak base, a weak acid. A weak acid only partially breaks down. It gives off much less hydrogen than strong acid. Characteristics of acids. Acids have show test. Acids react with metal and carbonates to produce gas. Acid contain hydrogen. Characteristics of acids: react with metals. Acid also react with most metals. The reaction produces hydrogen gas, which you can see in the form of bubbles. Characteristics of acids: contain hydrogen. This is example of acids: hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, carbonic acid, acetic acid, citric acid, phosphoric acid, oxalic acid. These are the various examples of acid. Now we move to base. A base is a substance that releases hydroxide OH ion in aqueous solution. For example, when sodium hydroxide NaOH is dissolved in water, the compound separates into sodium ion and hydroxide ion. Here you can see the reaction. This is Na plus and this is OH minus. It dissociates to form Na plus and OH minus. Characteristics of bases. Bases are usually bitter in taste. Bases feel slippery. Bases contain hydroxide. ion, OH minus ion. Characteristics of base, its example is baking soda. Here you can see the various example of bases: lithium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, rubidium hydroxide, barium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, strontium hydroxides. Metal with hydroxide ion forms base. Now we understand what is neutralization reaction. Acid and bases react chemically with each other to form salt. A salt is a general chemical term for any ionic compound formed from an acid and base. In reaction where the acid is a hydrogen ion containing compound and the base is a hydroxide ion containing compound, water is also a product. The general reaction is as follows: acid react with base and it form the salt and water. What is difference between acid and base? Acid is sure in test, bases are bitter in test. Acids don't feel slippery, bases feel slippery. Acid pH is less than 7, base pH is more than 7. Acid releases hydrogen plus ion, bases releases hydroxide ion. Acid produce corrosion to metals, bases does not corrode the metals. Acid react with metals to produce compound and hydrogen gas. Base do not react with metals to produce compound or hydrogen gas. Acid turns litmus red or pink, bases turn litmus to blue. Properties of acid and base. What are the similarities between acid and base? Both are dissolved in water, conduct electricity in aqueous solution, can irritate or burn skin. Here you can see the pH scale. When the pH is 7, the solution is neutral. Less than 7 is acidic, more than 7 is basic. When we move towards 0, the acidity is increases, and when we move towards 14, the basicity is increases. It means if the pH is 0 or 1, it is a strong acid, and if the pH is more than 10 or 9, it is a strong base. pH scales show the strength of acidity and basicity of the solution. The number of pH scale usually range 0 to 14, but the numbers outside this range is also possible. The middle number is 7. It represents the neutral solution. Example, water. And a neutral substance is neither acid or nor a base. Pure water is pH 7. Less than 7 indicate acidic solution. pH 7 indicates neutral solution. pH less than 7 is acidic and more than 7 is basic. Acid-base strength. A concentrated strong acid has a low pH value and a concentrated strong base has a high pH value. Acid-base indicators. A universal indicator is a pH paper which is used to identify the pH of the solution. For more accuracy, we use pH meter. It gives accurate results. Acids and base neutralization reaction. When an acid and base react to each other, the characteristic property of both are destroyed, and this is called neutralization. For example, we take hydrochloric acid, it reacts with sodium hydroxide, it forms the salt NaCl and water. Acid and base neutralizes each other. The salt form may be soluble or insoluble in the water. If the salt is insoluble, it makes precipitate, and precipitate is a suspension of a small and solid particle formed during the chemical reaction. Acids and base neutralization reaction. Acid react with base, form salt and water. Example is hydrochloric acid, sodium hydroxide, formation of NaCl and water. Acid and base neutralizes each other. Acid and base neutralization reaction also take place in the stomach when we take antacids. Antacids are the drugs which neutralize the acid, and acidifiers are the drug which increases the acidity of the stomach by releasing by improving the production of hydrochloric acid. An antacid tablet contains a base such as sodium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide, calcium carbonates. The base react with the stomach acid and it produces salt and water. Here you can see the stomach, and the lining of stomach secretes acid. If acidity is high, we use antacid to neutralize this acid. So here we have discussed the concept of acid-base theory given by Arrhenius, and also we have seen the antacid drugs which are used to neutralize the acid, and it is used in treatment of constipation and acidity problem. Thanks for listening this lecture.